Joining me now on the program, the New South Wales Premier Nathan Rees. Premier, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you going?
Very well, thank you. I want to ask you about the relationship, first of all, with the federal government, with the Prime Minister.
Sure.
Your government has been slammed, has been ridiculed and criticised from pillar to post in recent times. It doesn't seem like you've had much to do with the Prime Minister, very rarely seen alongside Kevin Rudd. When was the last time you spoke to him?
About 3 weeks ago, we had lunch at Kieran with others, and look, the Prime Minister and I enjoy a cordial and friendly relationship, contrary to some reports. And we've been working as closely as we possibly can with the Commonwealth on the stimulus package rollout, those sorts of things. We have good relations in areas such as education between Verity Firth and Julia Gillard. So we will continue to cement those relationships and make sure that we're rolling out the stimulus package as quickly as we can.
But you are from the same party, of course, as Kevin Rudd. You've never seen, or rarely seen, at joint events. Is he trying to avoid
Kieran,
you?
that's simply not the case. Post the federal budget, for example, we're in the Hunter, announcing the Hunter bypass up there. More recently, we're at Minto Public School as we announced the rollout of the stimulus package there and a new school hall, and we turned the first sod together. So it's simply not true.
Well, what about the move by the New South Wales executive of the Labor Party last week to put a firewall between the state party and the federal party, banning state MPs from running at the next federal election? Now, that's a fact. Why is that? Is that because of the stench around your government?
No, it was simply a reaffirmation of an existing rule, and I know it suits some commentators to present it otherwise, but it was simply a reaffirmation of an existing rule. So that's straightforward. And incidentally, I don't want unnecessary by-elections for the people of New South Wales were state MPs to go federal.
I don't need to tell you, of course. I mean, you're well aware of the subject of scrutiny that your government's been.
Sure.
Ridiculed, as I say. Do you feel that your government has become an embarrassment for the Labor Party?
No, I don't. And the reason I don't believe that is because look, there's no question that we've had our own travails, no question around that. But it hasn't distracted us from the delivery of fundamental services, and our education system independently assessed as having the best results in Australia. In our health system, the best performances in elective surgery and also emergency departments of any state in Australia. In law and order, yesterday, for example, reaffirmation, 16 out of 17 key crime categories stable or falling. Our on-time running for trains at a decade high at 95.4%, and all of that buttressed by a AAA rating that's been reconfirmed or reaffirmed by the ratings agencies recently. So we won't be distracted by the occasional internal issue from delivering services for the people of New South Wales.
Well, there are some good news stories there, but unfortunately they get swamped by the negative headlines. How confident are you that you'll be able to instil a bit of discipline in your party, given the events of recent times, the Delabosca issue? It seems that it goes from scandal to scandal.
Sure, but my job as leader is to ensure that I don't dwell on those things and that the team doesn't dwell on those things. We're elected to do one thing, and that is to serve the people of New South Wales. And I know my team works very hard to that end, notwithstanding the difficulties we've had on occasion over the last 12 months. And we will continue to prosecute a positive agenda for New South Wales, setting us up for the medium and longer term. And I have to say this, in stark contrast to the opposition who are coasting. They don't have a policy on water, they don't have a policy on electricity, they don't have a transport policy that includes any new buses or trains, and they don't have a hospital policy of any substance. So we will continue to put a positive agenda forward for the people of New South Wales as we look to the future.
OK, on that positive agenda, obviously you want to put your own stamp on your front bench.
Indeed.
You'd be keen to do that soon, no doubt.
Look, you're referring to reshuffles. We're in the middle of a parliamentary sitting week, and look, I know it can be frustrating, but I'm not going to be drawn on portfolios or individuals.
There are some reports that Tony Kelly, the police minister, might be on the way out, given that the suggestions that he was pushing John Delabosca as a leadership alternative. Is he safe?
I'm not commenting on portfolios or individuals. It's as simple as that, because as soon as I do that, the hairs start running. So I won't be doing that, but I will make a decision in my own good time, and we'll make sure that the team that we're taking to the election is the best team we have.
OK, on an issue in your state, in Sydney last night, some violence on the streets of suburban Auburn. Yesterday, crime figures suggested crime in New South Wales is down.
That's right.
You look at the images on our television sets, Premier, and it looks like a very different story. What's the reality?
The reality is that the crime statistics are collated, assessed and released by the Independent Bureau of Crime Statistics. So that's an independent organisation that, as I said earlier, released figures yesterday showing that in 16 out of the 17 key crime categories in New South Wales, crime is stable or falling. The one area of increase was around shoplifting, and there's a variety of reasons have been put forward for that. Can I say in relation to the Auburn incident that the advice to me at this stage is that the public order squad was called in, but there was no riot, as has been reported in some areas. In fact, it was prevented. There were lots of people watching, but that was the extent of it.
OK, the New South Wales Upper House on another matter, voting on an inquiry relating to the McGurk matter, the murder of that businessman in Sydney, and any potential links there might be to officials. Why not support this inquiry? Why doesn't the government give this its numbers?
Look, this is one of the more absurd propositions that has come from Mr O'Farrell. The notion that there would be an upper house inquiry into land that wasn't rezoned, but the notion that there would be an upper house inquiry at a time when the police force and prospectively the ICAC were also investigating. The possibility of corrupting those processes through an upper house inquiry is obvious, and in fact Justice James Wood, who headed the Police Royal Commission some years ago in New South Wales, said as much, or was reported as saying as much in the Financial Review yesterday, that it is the last place, or the least preferred option for any examination of this. I say again that if the Leader of the Opposition or the media or anyone else has any information about the allegations that have been aired publicly recently, they need to immediately take it to the police or the ICAC.
Premier, just a couple of final issues before I let you go. The Upper House passed the sale of New South Wales lotteries last night. Have you had any discussion with potential buyers, first of all, and would you consider lowering the tax charge to a buyer in order to get a greater price?
Well, ultimately that will be a matter for Treasurer Roosendale to negotiate. I won't get involved in the detail of that process, but I'll make this point, that for some weeks now there's been an assertion that because we hadn't allowed hunting in national parks that our upper house was paralysed. Simply rubbish, and like many jurisdictions around Australia, we've not held the balance of power in the upper house. Notwithstanding that, we've been able to negotiate this deal. So that's a positive outcome, a very positive outcome. We will continue to have around $300 million in lotteries duties delivered into the coffers each year, despite the new arrangements, and the detail of that will be worked through with Treasurer Roosendale.
We spoke to, just finally, we spoke to the Queensland Premier, Anna Bligh, on our agenda program last Friday. She's done a number of things on banning success fees for lobbyists, banning pay-per-view meetings with ministers. This is all about the integrity of government. Why has there been silence from New South Wales? Why don't you follow suit on that?
There hasn't been silence for many months now. Very early in this job, I said that my preference, my strong preference, is for a ban on donations and for publicly funded elections. And I've been on the record as saying that. I've said that in the Parliament, and I've said it at a number of press conferences. So your assertion that I've been silent is simply wrong. Now,
but where's the action? Where's the action? Why not ban these sorts of things?
Well, you would know that the complexity around this issue does require a national approach. There are a variety of constitutional barriers to overcome, the right to donate, those sorts of things. That's why we believe it's appropriate that there be a uniform approach to this across Australia. We will support that, but my personal view is that we need publicly funded election campaigns so that there is not even an issue around donations.
OK. New South Wales Premier Nathan Rees, appreciate your time on AIM Agenda. Thanks.
Good on you. Good to catch up with you.